And I see this pattern over and over again. I've counseled people for over 35 years all over the world. And as Larry mentioned, like 60 Minutes flew me to Japan after the sarin gassing of the Aum Shinrikyo cult. Do you remember that one? Where the leader Shoko Asahara claimed to be Buddha and Jesus, and he ordered his followers to sarin gas people in the subway and literally shot the head of Japan's police department in the chest. So I was flown over for that. I've been on every major talk show. But again, it's like the public is like anesthetized to the reality that psychology can be used to help and empower people and overcome addictions and overcome all kinds of personal problems. And psychology can be used in quite a systematic way to deconstruct a person's identity and enslave them. And I believe that in every educational institution, people should be taught social psychology. They should be taught how to be a good consumer, how to ask questions, critical questions. And if they're ever in a situation where they're being told, don't listen to those ex-members, don't listen to those critics, go out of your way to listen and decide for yourself if there's any substance or if there's any facts that they have to offer. Don't just suspend your own human rights and listen to some external authority figure, because the truth will stand. If you're involved with a group and there's a problem with it, you should get out. And if the group is legitimate, it will stand up to scrutiny. And so anyone who's trying to manipulate information about things, be careful, please. And that's about it. I just want to thank Anonymous. I want to thank again Larry and Nancy and all the other courageous former members for speaking out. And I really hope we can create more pressure on investigating Scientology, getting their tax exemption status, putting David Miscavige in jail. Thank you very much. Take care.
So I think Greg is going to come out here with the next thing, but what we wanted to do was we're going to be doing a film at a hotel nearby of a conference chat that's also going to go up on the internet, and hopefully it can answer some questions or help some people, whoever gets to see it. But in the meantime, if there's anybody who has any questions of any of the three speakers, you can feel absolutely free to ask them. We'll either answer publicly, or we're going to be hanging here for 20-30 minutes or so anyway afterwards, and if anybody has any private questions, we'll be very glad to answer them, because obviously we're only given like 10 or so minute talks and couldn't cover a lot, so feel free to ask anything you'd like. Hi.
Howdy.
Hi.
I'm Bird on the SMB. I'm Commander Birdsong.
Oh, cool.
And first thing I wanted to ask you was, how long were you in? What year did you go in and what year did you come out?
Okay, he asked me how long I was in, when I went in and when I came out. I went in, not that I remember, 1 September 1973. I joined the Sea Organization, and that's after I took a course in earlier 73. I came out of staff in 1984 and became a public Scientologist until maybe 2003 or so. I mean, the last couple of years I was off. I was one of those Scientologists who was off lines, not making waves, still had somebody in, but was not participating. So that covers the time spent.
Cool.
And then for Nancy, I don't think
I just changed jobs.
There you go. Anybody else have any questions? Well, yeah.
How do all Scientologists always do the auditing sessions, or what level do you get to where you don't need to hold the cans?
He asked if all Scientologists have to do the auditing session, or at what level do you have to be to actually hold the cans and do the session. You're going to hold the can if you're even the raw Scientologists are a public Scientologist. I mean, if you do so much as a stress test on the street, you're going to hold the cans. They're going to tell you to think of a time of stress and trying to get you to see an e-meter read. If you do any course, like an introductory course, a little 12-hour course, they're going to have you on the cans after the course to see, do you have any upsets or anything, and try and judge by the reaction of the e-meter. But for auditing, at the lowest levels of Scientology, as long as anybody has paid, you know, for either a 12.5-hour block or any initial auditing, you can be in Scientology one day and pay for auditing. Now, some people may not do auditing for a while, but I'd say the majority have at least done some session of Scientology whereby they were on the cans, the little bit of electricity was put through them, and their reactions were read on the, some people call it a lie detector, but I think the vast majority of Scientologists have been on the cans at some point.
Can I just make a comment?
Yep.
By the way, do you know that lie detectors have been proven to be incorrect? Yep. Like, they're not a scientific thing? So the whole basis that Hubbard had of trying to rip off lie detectors and try to create it into a way to understand what was going on in people's minds, it's totally flawed. And anyway, the parts of an e-meter, I believe it was less than $10 in Radio Shack, and they were selling them for thousands of dollars. So anyway, just wanted to add that thing about lie detectors. It's like, it's more of a device to manipulate people, to believe that if you get the needle to move, then it has significance. And you can literally use it with a handkerchief and say, if you move the handkerchief, there's significance. And you could do a whole mind control cult based on a moving handkerchief.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. Anybody else have anything else? Otherwise, we're going to be hanging and, happy to chat with anybody on anything. And I'm going to turn this over to Greg. Thanks very much, everybody. I incredibly appreciate what you're all doing. Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Steve.
So, do you have can you draw a distinction between cults and religion? What you regard as legitimate religion?
Yeah, basically I think there's a continuum of influence from destructive to constructive, and so there's all these sub-variables to consider. And healthier groups or healthier religions basically tell people up front who they are, what they believe, and what's going to happen to them, whereas unhealthy groups use deception, manipulation, and for example, most people in Scientology don't even understand what the teachings are of the OT levels, for example. And I think if you're going to get involved with a group, you need to know what the beliefs are before you decide whether or not this resonates with you or whether or not you think there's substance to it. But there's a whole lot of other criterias, like healthy groups should respect your individuality and shouldn't try to take away your relationships with family and friends or tell you what you can read or what you can't read. Or if you're tired, you should sleep. Or if you have medical problems, you should go to a doctor. Whereas unhealthy groups do all of those things. They basically tell you, you can't see your mother or father if they've left the org or they've left the organization. They tell you can't read critics' literature. They manipulate your sleep and your diet and your medical treatments and your educational experience. So for me, the issue is really behaviors and whether or not a group is respecting you as a person, that you have free will, that you should have informed consent, and that freedom of religion ultimately is the freedom to join and the freedom to leave if you find something that works better for you, or if it's not working at all for you, you should have the freedom to leave. You should not have to worry about being harassed or threatened or blackmailed or private confidential information used against you. So those are a few. I have this thing called the BITE model of mind control, which is on my website at freedomofmind.com. Controlling behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. And so on my website, freedomofmind.com, you can read through them and pretty much check off whether a group is healthy or unhealthy. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.